Alright, hi everybody, it's BANKAI 922. Later tonight's going to be that live stream business. But before that, chapter came out. Bleach! Well, least to say, I was surprised when I read this chapter. Now, just for the hell of it, I decided to look at Taking what he had to say. And his theory actually makes sense and is similar to my theory. I was actually surprised. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's great. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Now, this chapter, I want to give it a 5 out of 5. And by the way, next week we're not getting a chapter. The reason why we're not getting a chapter next week, I just don't understand. Why is Kubo going to Germany? Who's he going to look up the Quincy heritage? I'm sorry. It's just so obscure. But anyway, that's the story. So next week we're gonna get a One Piece chapter review, but no Bleach review. But it's this week. Now this was chapter 530. Believe what this was called. Everything But the Rain Opening 3. And this one is weird. The title page on the side, it says Dark of the Moon. And you got a picture of Misaki. And, hey, you know, like Misaki's pretty hot. I know I shouldn't be saying that. Alright. Being part of this chapter, let's get into the summary. We got these two nameless shinigamis going through Karakura Town. It's like June 4th at 8:22 p.m. And, you know, they realize it's overcasting and it's kind of creepy, and that it's a bad omen because there were two other shinigamis who went through this same situation, and it represents doom for them. Then after that, we get Shiba, you know, Ishin showing up, and he's saying, you know, saying that he's got to leak the lizard, he's got to take a piss, and I'm like, the translation for Magashi were kind of weird. And he says for them to, if it starts to rain, for them that they're dismissed and to leave. And he says, it's hard for me to water the plants if others are watching. I'm like, why can't you just say you're taking a piss, man? That was very weird. But anyway, and that's what he's basically saying. Then after that, we get the title page, and we get this. Now, before going into anything, I need to state something. I can't believe that what I thought was the truth about RYUKEN. See, I had thought that, oh yeah, RYUKEN was, or I was suggesting to myself that a theory was that, oh, he must be related to Misaki. And I was partially right. And I was like, wow. What was revealed in this chapter was so mind-blowing. The ending was mind-blowing. And what was revealed right here with Misaki and RYUKEN was mind-blowing. So much that I thought to myself, it all fits. Everything. The relationship between RYUKEN and Ishin. The whole thing with that, it fits. Also, another thing that fits is Aizen. Now, he wasn't shown in this chapter, but by the way things are going, I now understand the full story of Aizen when he was with Ichigo during the Karakura Town arc. You know, the Ronko arc thing. It makes sense. But let's get further into this. And, you know, we got, basically, it's Misaki and Aunt is asking, you know, asking her how school is, and she's like joking around saying, oh, I look forward to my community every day to school. That's better. I'm more interested in the school itself. Oh, by the way, I agree with Taking. From now on, this aunt is going to be known as the bitch. The bitch. because she was a real bitch in this chapter. And, you know, she's joking around. Misaki's saying, oh, you know, in fact, I can't have second helpings of pickles and whatever, and blah, blah, blah. And she's asking how her holy training is going. And she says she's taking baby steps. And that's when the aunt gets really pissed off. And she's like, do you understand the situation you're in? And blah, blah, blah. Because supposedly, the reason why she's living with the ICHIGO'S is because there aren't that many Quincy's left. And basically, she is trying to make sure that the Quincy blood, true blood, continues onward. Now, we don't know anything about who Misaki's mother is, who her father is. We don't know any of that. All we know in this chapter was revealed is that Misaki is related to Ryuken in some way, shape, or fashion, which was revealed, kind of. Now, confidentially, they're not really brother and sister. Don't be confused with that. This is more of like a cousin thing. So, you know, she's pissed off saying about that and saying that, you know, the only offspring of the Kurosaki family and raised you as a fellow Quincy. And then when she says that, you hear this guy come in, mother, and it's Ryuken. And he's telling her to refrain from screaming, could hear you run outside, so on and so forth. And then she says, oh, I'll go to my room. And she's telling him to have Kadaguri clean up everything when you're finished. And he asks where's father. And she says he's still in the Fünfins. I apologize. My German is not very good. But that's why Kubo's going there. He's learning German. In Germany. And the Fünfins field, which is fifth field. And she's saying to him, I wonder if he's ever coming back. That's when we got this thing between Misaki and Ryuken is kind of funny. And he apologizes that don't judge her mother too harshly. She's just taking the stress on it because she's lonely. And she's like, what are you babbling about, Ryu-chan? She's done nothing wrong. I'm precisely fine, and so on and so forth. And then Misaki decides to go to her room. And she gives him this face and says, the shrimp grinding is to die for. If you're not feeling up to it, feel free to send it my way. I'm like, holy shit, what the fuck? She's flirting with him? Listen, I really like Misaki as a character. I really do now. Now we're getting a little more feedback on what she's like, what she was like. It's interesting to see. Now, that's basically what happens, and she goes to her room. And now we have a conversation between, you know, Ryuken and the maid. And he's basically saying that his mother agreed to bring her in the Ishida family only because she maintained the sanctity of the purity of the Quincy bloodline. And saying that she's not that stupid, Misaki. She's known that that's what the reason of it. And that, you know, Ryuken's saying, I'm certainly fine. That the joy is that the last thing she's feeling about our... Well, no, he says, I'm fairly certain that joy is the last thing she's feeling about our arranged marriage. And that's basically what's happening here. And Raid's saying, like, oh, I'm sure that your thoughtfulness won't be lost on Misaki. Oh, please. And he says, I'm not the thoughtful type. I only want Misaki to be happy so that she'll have a positive outlook on the future. And not our cold, and not our future. I could care less about that. I'm much more concerned about the future of the Quincy's. Now, pretty much what was going down here is she's arranged to marry him. Which now brings up a great point. Why Ryuken doesn't like Ishin. Now we know. This arranged marriage... This was supposed to go down, and didn't. And she married Ishin. So obviously he's pissed off at Ishin for not, you know, saying Misaki. Now, this might come up to later on, I think, to some extent, because I think few people were stating it. One person was stating it and taking his comments. Oh, what if RYUKEN goes with the Venom rank? It's possible, but I don't see it happening in the near future. Now, I don't think this has anything to do with Ryu having a connection with Ichigo. I still think that's a little crazy. Because RYUKEN and Misaki you can consider as cousins. That at least is what is the story here. The rest of the chapter is pretty much just Ishin saying that the rain started, and the two Shinigami stay back, and they're not going to leave, though. They're just sticking by, and Ishin's saying that if Shinigamis are being targeted, it could be one or two things, that we have bullseye on our back, or whatever it is, simply drawn to our robust Ryatsu. And he says it's the latter, perhaps. And then he releases his Zanpakuto, Ishin, and out of nowhere, boom! Those two Shinigami are dead! Sorry, I screwed it like that. So they're finished, pretty much, and you realize that it has nothing to do with the magnitude of the Ryatsu at all, and then the thing that killed him shows up, and... this figure shows up. This Vasto Lorde? Mind you, when I first saw that ending, I was like this. Oh, I gotta take off my glasses. I'm blind. I was like this. I was like, no, I didn't see that. No, that's not possible. There's no way that that's true. Let me look at it again. Maybe it's a false. I'm like, oh no, oh god, no, what? So I had to take off my glasses when I first saw it because I was like, no, there is no way that is true. But it was plain and simple, and I thought to myself, where did I see that? Oh, wait, let's think back. Oh yeah, that's a Hollow Fight Ichigo. And I look closely. If you look closely at this pic of this Vasto Hollow Lorde, take a look at its arms. Its arms are blades. You look closely at those blades and you realize, wait a minute, that looks like ICHIGO'S BANKAI. Taking already made the theory, and I don't want to borrow his theory, but I'm going to state that, yes, that's probably what happened. Ishin fought this thing. And at the end of the chapter, pretty much what happens is Ishin says, "What the fuck are you?" And it says a sinister shadow approaches. Bleach will be on a hiatus next week and resume the following week. And you look at the guy's face; it looks exactly like ICHIGO'S Hollow Mask. This Vasto Lorde, most likely, what happened was this. It attacked Ishin, or Misaki, which. This is probably the beginning of the very beginning of the flashback we had, when he was on the ground. That was probably from this fight, most likely. It attacked Ishin. And when it attacked him, the Vasto Lorde's Ryatsu was imprinted on Ishin. That's a theory I'm sticking with at the moment. Now, this explains another thing. How Ichigo was able to holofy like that. How he looks like this thing. How his mask is. It explains a lot. So we got two bombs in this chapter. The hollow thing and RYUKEN. The relationship between RYUKEN and Misaki. And Ishin now. And next week, no chapter. The following week, I would not be surprised if we start seeing eyes in that. So, the holification for Ichigo. This most likely, this being, imprinted its Ryatsu on Ishin. I don't think Misaki, because Misaki, no, it might be possible for her too, but I think it was imprinted on Ishin, imprinted on himself, and that stayed with him. And it was passed on to Ichigo. So when he was training with Kisuke, that holification was due to this being. Well, not due to it, but it was almost like a guiding point. Like when Rukia, gave her powers to Ichigo, this thing gave a guiding point for it to holify in Ichigo, in a way. If that makes sense. But this chapter was, rating, I really want to give this a 5, but I'm going to hold as much possibility back. I'm going to give it a 4.5. This was unbelievable. The whole thing with the fucking hollow at the end just had me like, oh shit. So, and the whole thing with Ryuken, now it makes sense why he doesn't like Ishin. It kind of brings up a point, yeah. So, and I don't think by the way, I do not think Uli and Ichigo are brother. That would be too much. They're not related. I don't think that has anything to do with that. But his father and Ichigo's mother were cousins. So that brings up a good point. But overall, this was a good chapter. I like what they did here. Wow, 16 minutes. Gotta wait for 2 weeks, but hey, I'm a patient guy. I'll wait for it. This was an awesome fucking chapter. 4.5 out of 5. Vasto Lorde. So, this explains everything about Ichigo's Bankai, Hollow Form, everything. So yeah, this has been Bankai 922. I'll see you guys later. I'm going to go into details on the live stream tonight about this. So, stay tuned for that. See you.